Good afternoon. Welcome to 11th session of Life After Lockdown. I see good number of people already joined in. Welcome all the participants from across the country. And I see some of the people are joining from Bangladesh and Nepal, usually in our session. So welcome to all my friends. I welcome a special welcome to Professor Viveka Tangadi. He always join before the time. And he is wishing us a great Father's Day to all fathers who are joining. And to those 20 fathers and mothers who sacrificed their sons last week to protect our motherland. That's a very emotional note. We know. Thanks, Professor, reminding us on that. What we can wish to them, the father of those 20 shaheeds, is the, but I don't know what to say here. But anyway, that's very emotional point. Happy Father's Day to all of you. Let's make a resolve. We are talking about the detailing to conversation. So we in a practice also will be doing more conversation rather than presenting ourselves. So all of you, all participants, feel free to communicate to us, put that in chat box. We'll take as and when possible your comments, your questions too also. It is more of the exploratory session because the total experience using the AI in pharmaceutical marketing per se is very, very limited. We don't have huge experience, so we'll not be able to give you so many case studies. But yes, we are going to give you very solid something through which you can really converse with your customers, both doctors as well as patient, in your marketing right from tomorrow onwards. That's my promise. With this, I welcome both of my panelists today. We have Girisan K, a veteran in pharmaceutical marketing, very, very wide experience in pharma sales and marketing. We know each other for more than 20 decades. Still, I will reserve this part of telling about himself to Girisan. He will tell you about himself, how he's looking at this situation, COVID-19 as a blessing in disguise for pharmaceutical marketing as well. And we have Swapnil Jain. Swapnil and me just connected in this platform itself through this life after lockdown session itself. We are not knowing each other earlier. I talked to him 2-3 times and I found him very, very interesting to share to the audience of the life after lockdown. I would also like to share you this landmark is that we have crossed 1,000 mark of the senior professionals who have joined for this series, this web series. Exact number is 1,002 people who has registered for this series, life after lockdown. All may not be able to join live, but most of the people watch the video content, which is equally good at their leisure, at their convenient time. So I'm happy to and thank you to all of you who joined 1,000 marks, cross the 1,000 marks, which is a very, very landmark for any independent broadcaster. So thank you all of you. So Swapnil also will talk about himself in detail, what he is doing from sales and marketing. Now he's in technology part and how he's helping to the pharmaceutical company and other health as well as other industry people also. So let us focus now with Girisan, just know more about the Girisan and then Swapnil. Girisan, over to you, please.
Hi, thank you, Pranav, and thanks for giving the opportunity to get onto this digital world. And first of all, congratulations to you for doing this week after week for 11 weeks. I think that's a commendable job, and it's been quite interesting for people, a platform for people to interact and understand and see, because this whole scenario is something new for all of us, and we're trying to grapple with that. So congratulations for that. A quick introduction of myself. As Pranav said, I've been in the industry now about 30 years. I started my career as a medical rep, and then moved across from sales to marketing, working with organizations like Menarini, which then became part of Vocard, then with Dr. Reddy's, and that's where my acquaintance with Pranav started off, and then it's been continuing. So after that, I moved to a company called Tablets India for a short stint, and now with Menarini for the past 10 years. I've been managing marketing, business development, regulatory, and the medical affairs part for the organization. So yeah, that's in brief of the journey which I've come through.
Over to Swapnil, please. Swapnil, your microphone is off. Just switch on.
Sorry, is it audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks. It is a very good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasant afternoon, in fact, today. And I mean, definitely congratulations to Mr. Pranav for doing such kind of a series where a like-minded people comes together and then a good amount of an audience who we get to interact with. A brief about me, like I've been started my career from MP Madhya Pradesh and studied there. And now for the last 13 years odd, I am in Bangalore. So started a career into project management, had almost spent 8-10 years in the project management side of it. We worked along with Microsoft as partners to deliver various project management solutions to even global pharmaceuticals and healthcare organizations as well. From there, my shift was more, I mean, as a project manager, it was core as a sales and marketing, and then I was a consultant to that. But when I got to know more about digital almost 8 years back, I was like fascinated to see the impact of the digital happening in sales and marketing across. And when I learned digital, when I understood and went deep, I started handling a team of around 200 and odd people in the digital marketing across the nation and international as well. And then is the time when I started listing complaints from the customers. The quality of the lead, the engagement with the audience and online audience is a bigger major problem with all of the pharmaceutical, automobile, healthcare, everyone. And that's when the time around 2 years back, I started with my partner a deep research on how do we use the latest technologies like AI, ML to handle the conventional problems of everyone where the lead quality of the digital generated leads are really bad. That's where research happened and a discovery of an ORAI Robotics as an organization happened. And with ORAI Robotics, we ensured that the conversational AI, the sales and marketing, so anything and everything to do with AI in digital marketing or AI in marketing is what we are working today. It's almost now 6 months plus where we have launched this, where we have good amount of pharmaceutical companies as well, or the healthcare companies as well became our customers and leveraging the benefit of AI in digital marketing. So that's a brief, Mr. Pranav.
Thank you, Swapnil, and welcome to this platform. And thanks, Inderpal, for your comment. Inderpal Sethi is a senior manager in a big multinational company and just celebrated birthday. So happy birthday once again, Inderpal. You have written that you love this platform. Please continue the series beyond. Despite issue with not able to join live, but YouTube subscription has been very useful. Thanks. And YouTube also is a very easy to remember now. You can simply type youtube.com/Academy of CPD. CPD stands for Continuing Professional Development. youtube.com/Academy of CPD. You will get all the videos of the past session as well as the future session when it get uploaded. That do subscribe so that as soon as get uploaded, you get a notification to do that. And you can you are invited to make comments there also. You have a provision to make comment there. Please do that. If you find it useful, do like. That will help to spread the message to the more professionals who may be interested to join. Thank you very much for that, Inderpal. Now, coming to this topic of conversational AI or detailing to conversation. I remember Vijay Christopher said in last session of webinar, he said that the pharmaceutical companies should be cautious the moment a doctor, the first doctor told that, tell me the brand, don't show me the visual aid. And now the pain is more, all of us is facing that even if the doctor are willing to see your visual aid, you are not able to reach out because of certain limitation which COVID-19 brought to us. And that is the perfect time to really try, explore, and deploy the technology as a savior to you to reach out to your customer to communicate them. A huge change happened in last couple of decades in the marketing. The marketing, the capacity, the power has shifted, particularly in communication, from top to bottom. There was a time where the big media houses, earlier DD1 or AI or All India Radio, only had the power. Now everybody, even a poorest of the poor person who is having a small mobile, can broadcast the content to anybody in the world. That's the power. The power of communication has been shifted from big houses to every man's pocket. And the expectation also change. People don't like to just hear. People don't like to be taught. People like to converse. This is the shift has happened in sales and marketing as well. As a customer, you must have felt that whenever you are buying a product in Amazon or any other platform, you want to know more about that. You want to put some query there. If somebody respond that, the chances of buying is more. More so in healthcare, where the knowledge about the disease and drug is at super specialty level or at the high professional level, be it doctors or pharmaceutical companies. As a common patient or common person, even if he's a PhD in other discipline, may not be knowing about the drug and disease. The need for the knowledge to having their query resolved is very high. That's why the need for conversation is more in healthcare. So to start with, let me put these questions to the audience itself first. What is your point of view in that? In the situation where people have a query, do you feel that it is the obligation of a pharmaceutical company to respond that? So I'm publishing the question, the first poll of the day today. If a patient has a query on the product prescribed to him, should the pharma have a mechanism, system to respond on real time? So the poll is open. All of you can just see below the video. There is a option given. Option is yes, not required. Only the doctor should tell him or her. Yes, we have customer service call center. Yes, we have macro site of the product with Q&A and chatbots. And we have our company website with AI-enabled chatbot support on a call. These are the options given. If your answer is not within this option, you are feel free to put your response in the chat box. So if your answer is not filling in this option given here, which is most likely, please feel free to put that answer in your chat box. In between, let me read the message from Umesh. He writes that earlier we felt doctors looking at visual aid are actually hearing, but were they really? Interesting comment, Umesh. I think we knew that they are not hearing, but we are also showing. I mean that they are hearing. We are also fooling ourselves. The fact is that their mind was going in their patient, their family, so many things. We know that. Good. Steve Raman, you are asking for a YouTube link. I tell you, very simple to remember that. You type in any browser youtube.com/Academy of CPD. You will get that YouTube. youtube.com/Academy of CPD. That's simple, easy to remember URL for YouTube, where you can see all the previous sessions there. Good. Let me come back to these questions we asked there. I'm publishing the poll result here. Very interesting to see here is that 45% of the respondents, the professionals, healthcare professional, pharmaceutical, life science professionals here said yes. Yes, pharmaceutical companies should have a mechanism or system to respond to patient in real time. However, 36% people's opinion, and I respect that opinion, is that not required because that's the job of a doctor. Doctors should respond. I tell you, interesting fact here. There is another person. They should not be bothered about that, but they are responding most of the query in real time, and that person's name is called Google Baba. Have you heard about that? Any patient, whenever he gets a new prescription, new product, tendencies is more and it is rising that they Google it. If your brand is not digitally present, you miss the opportunity. They will get different type of content which is not, you would not like to them to know that. whatever. Anyway, so I respect your view. 9% is that, yes, we have the customer service call center. That's good. I appreciate that. Another 9%, I'm happy to see that we have our company website with AI-enabled chatbot supports on call. This is fantastic, good. I appreciate those companies who are using the technology in any form to connect and respond to the customers in real time. With this, we'll come back to maybe more engagement, more sort of poll from you. Let us take it as a starting point to discuss here. So, straightforward, I'm asking these questions to our pharmaceutical marketing panelist here, Girisan. What is your opinion on this poll itself? How do you comment on this response and your opinion, personal opinion?
See, personally, I feel we need to respond to the patient because I personally believe as a pharmaceutical company, our existence is to ensure that lives get better. And if that's the purpose and the sole existence of the pharma company, we need to interact with them more and help them answer the questions. Because as far as the disease is concerned, as far as the product is concerned, it's the company who's got an immense wealth of information. And therefore, the companies need to take that responsibility of guiding the patient the right way. So I feel it has to be 100%. And now with the technology which is available, it's much more easier to respond to the patient's query much more promptly. And as they said, the AI chatbots which are being used, it becomes much more conversational. The patient also starts trusting because he's getting the information. And once the trust gets developed, it further helps the company only. So I very strongly advocate that the company should have an infrastructure to respond real time.
At least now, looking at the scenario we had now, COVID-19 scenario, all company, be it small and big, should have that. And I don't think this is costly to really have it. Everybody can have. I tell you a secret. As an independent small company, we have in our company. And I run multiple programs for multiple of my clients. When I do some program for that clients, the customer of my client, they can communicate with the company and me directly using the simple WhatsApp. No big funda. Very simple. They can WhatsApp to the company and they get response next second in most of the cases, if not all. Some cases require manual response, but many a time this questions, probable questions and answer is coded there in the system itself, and they get immediate response, which is very human, and it looks like I responded that the customer, you can feel that the customer will be very happy. So that's the good point, and I agree with Girisan here. Now coming to Swapnil. Swapnil, is it very costly to really implement that? What is your point of view? And give a general understanding that how actually the newer technologies can help the small businesses as well as big businesses.
Right. So let me bring a perspective on how AI ML can help healthcare industry future marketing and even the adoption for the patient-doctor connect or the pharmaceutical-doctor connect. So. And to be honest, this is one of the real passionate areas for me and this conference, because I actually come from a doctor family. My entire family is a doctor. My mother was a doctor. My father and my brother and his wife, everyone is doctor. I was the only one who was not doctor. And I was more passionate about sales and marketing and the digital or technology as such. So I got an idea, I got a perspective from there as well. And today I have a complete technology know-how that how both the things marry. The first thing as a doctor or an organization, everyone feels that, hey, somebody who has spoken about AI would be a real costly affair, number one. Second, the adoption would become a big challenge, and we are not that equipped that the adoption, my people or the doctor would be able to adopt. So taking an experience from my end, I totally understood this. And what we did is like product plus service is a combination. We become a consultant, right? A consultant is an approach where, and there are many people, those who are available nowadays. The AI has come to masses. And as it has come to the masses, the cost to take that AI and adopt the AI is tremendously reduced. Now, taking and consulting approach of the product plus service, institute, a pharma company, or individual doctor with a single clinic can adopt with less than a cost of 5 patients, 2 patients of a month. So that's how easy it can become and get implemented. So nothing to do with the cost much. Adoption is the key, and take a right partners to do that adoption for you.
Right. So now my question goes to Girisan here, to be very specific questions, like all pharmaceutical companies, the main function at the front end is that meeting to the doctor and communicating with them, right? So conversation with HCP is one of the core function of pharma and life science companies. Girisan, do you see there is a shift, or there is a need for a shift in communication media post COVID-19 era? And what are the imperatives when the personal meeting is restricted?
Yeah, so that's a very obvious question, that the whole scenario has changed. And as you rightly said, till pre-COVID, the entire industry was depending on the face-to-face interactions, and that being the most dependable tool to communicate with the doctors. And because of the social distancing, that's been reduced. And I personally believe that's going to last for long. And once it lasts for long, in that in-between period, how we are going to make the interactions more engaging and interesting to the physicians, based on that, they would decide how to continue with this. If they feel this is much more giving them more leisure time, they would continue this even if the social distancing stops. So as a pharmaceutical company, we obviously need to look at newer ways of playing the game. As I say, once the game changes, the rules also change. For example, if you look at playing a hockey or a football, the objective is to put the ball into the net, but then the rules are completely different. It's like we were playing hockey and suddenly somebody has taken over the stick and say, now continue to play. So it's that sort of a situation. So we need to obviously get newer skills developed, and there are a plethora of other options which are available, whether it is in terms of, as Swapnil was talking, whether it is through the AI in terms of communicating doctors, whether it's the normal things which we've already started doing, whether it is webinars, emails, in terms of messaging, in terms of SLM speaking to the doctors, whether it is WebEx calls which we can make to the doctors, or phone calls. There are a plethora of other options. And hence, what we need to do is, how do we equip ourselves to make use of these mediums? And that's where I think the challenge is, both from a marketing as well as from a sales point of view. The marketing needs to now get content which actually entices the doctor, because the attention span is less. In a face-to-face, the doctor is forced to listen to you at least for a minute. But when it comes to a phone, probably the attention span gets even reduced. And it all depends on the content. And hence, the first thing is, marketing needs to develop content which is enticing for the field force to communicate. And the field force needs to learn newer ways of, because the skills required for a phone call and from a face-to-face are completely different. He or she needs to learn the skills of voice modulation in terms of how it has to be done, what is important, and how do I actually communicate the relevant messages in a much shorter period of time. So both from marketing as well as sales, new skills needs to be done to use these newer models which are available. And what I want to emphasize here is, the new tools are going to significantly improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of the team. These tools were there in the past, but unfortunately we were not using it. But now the biggest plus is the whole environment is conducive. The doctors are willing to take a WebEx call. The doctors are willing to listen through to digital. They're saying, don't come to me, but you can call me, you can reach out to me. So let's make use of this whole environment which is so conducive for using us these digital, and club it with the face-to-face, and then get better results out of it. So yes, there is definitely a need to look at newer mediums, and the success of that medium will depend upon how efficiently we use that. And for that, first to understand, and then to train ourselves to use it. I think that's the key in terms of moving forward.
Right, Girisan. So let me share in one example what exactly happened a few years back. I was working in a pharmaceutical company that time. One of a doctor found some issue in formulation. At least he thought that there is issue. So he told to medical rep about the complaint about the product, some adverse effect, or product is not working, something like that. And medical rep obviously could not understand, so he passed on to the area manager. His area manager passed on to regional manager. He passed on the product manager. Product manager has so many mails, so he waited for that and then lost. Then again, next time when medical rep went to the doctor, he's diabetologist, senior diabetologist known in the whole India. So he asked, what happened to that response? Yeah, patient is again coming. Same problem is still there in your product. And then, sir, I will get back to you. By the time it reached to the real right person, by the time it actually finally reached to me, it was very late. Since I knew the doctor, so I called back him immediately over the phone. I just saw your message regarding you. Somebody had asked me about that. Responded that. And it took a time, and doctor was very, very frustrated. Company is not bothered about their product. Because of the chain, the hierarchy, right, and not reaching to the right person, right place. The resolution of the query was very simple, but the annoyance to the customer was because it was not heard. Nobody has responded that, right? Is it the same happening right now with many other company? Is there any other way companies are responding to such product related complaint? Of course, some company I see have a customer service number. Well, when the doctors call, that is always switched off or a recorded message. Next day, working time only, somebody calls back and then message go here and there and again come back to the doctor after a long time. So it is not, the loop is completed, but not in real time. It takes a lot of time. So my questions to first to Girisan here. What is your idea? Have we moved this instance? I told you is a 4 or 5 year old. Has the company learned from this instance, moved up, or by and large in the same instance?
No, I think there's been a significant progress. I wouldn't say significant, but some companies have progressed significantly. Some of them are yet to. But the common email ID, the common mobile numbers, and the whole emphasis of pharmacovigilance as a subject has gained significant importance. Whether there's been significant amount of training being done to the field force to sensitize them that this is not something which needs to be ignored, it needs to be reported immediately. And that sort of a training obviously increases the awareness and the seriousness among the field force. And that obviously would ensure that the rep takes ownership and knows whom to communicate. So during the training program, it's very clearly communicated that this is the address which you need to send, this is the number which you need to send. And the whole organization is aware that you need to respond within 24 hours. So that sort of a seriousness on pharmacovigilance has definitely stepped up. But I still feel there is more innovative tools which companies can use by use of technology to much more speed up the process. But yes, it's moving in the right direction, if you ask me.
Let me take this question to the audience also. What is so one thing which Girisan suggested is that training and orientation of the field force itself to respond within 24 hours. That's good, and that has to be there. In addition to that, do your company has any other mechanism other than the medical rep and doctor managers responding to the doctor, conversing to the doctor? So my question to the poll is that, do your company, corporate and client, in case you are consultant, have any system to do a conversation with customers other than the medical rep managers talking to customers? When I say conversation, it is not sending in mail and waiting for 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 months or weeks to get reply of the mail. Rather, immediate conversation means I'm talking, you are responding. You are talking, I'm responding. That way of because that is what customer expect nowadays. Okay, so I'm waiting for the response here. I'm getting mixed response. I'm very happy to see that good number of companies also having that. So I'm publishing the result now here, polls result. 50-50, it is 50-50. 50% people says that yes, my company has that. 50% says that no, we don't have anything there. So that's happy to note that at least 50% have some mechanism to capture the voice of the customers, in addition to what medical rep and managers are doing that. All right. So thanks for this response. I'm resetting the poll here and coming to here, Swapnil. You saw the problem what we are facing, right? So this problem is though it is long problem now, and there are existed technology, but we have not really used much. To some extent, yes, some companies was proactive more than the others, and they deployed some system there. We hear about AI and machine learning, but we believe that this is more of the high-tech company thing, not for the pharmaceutical, and definitely not for the marketing. This is the common understanding of the pharmaceutical people here. So can you enlighten us? Is there any used case of using AI and machine learning in healthcare?
Right. So I think this is very interesting to know that what kind of problems faces. The most important thing was turnaround time. I mean, the customer happiness, right? The product was not working. He tried reaching out to the person, and the person is basically why a person tried reaching out to the person is because he wants an answer. He wants a learning. Okay, the person can give the quickest possible solution to problem what I am in. And that is only the fear why you and me don't write emails to the customer care at abccompany.com, because we know that emails responses is nowhere which you can have as instantaneously. It would take time to come back to you, right? Now, that's where the AI is definitely playing a huge role in terms of making a virtual assistant equipped with a good number of FAQs and the questions which can be responded immediately, right? Now, one thing is like you and me might have experienced one, if you buy an insurance, if we buy any other products, the terms and condition page is there. And whenever we are buying an insurance or a policy, we know that the term and condition is like 200 points, 500 points. We all go without reading it. The same goes with the credit cards as well, right? Why? Because we really do not understand the meaning or reason to read 200 until and unless we don't encounter to the problem specifically that my credit card got bounced, or basically somebody have cheated on my credit card, and what is the interest rate when the financial charges comes, right? That's a time where I wanted somebody to answer me. How good it would be that if I just log into the site and have my question placed to their AI assistants and assistant given me the reply right there. And then that becomes the customer experience. So in the case of pharmaceutical, let us talk about like the implementation is huge in the healthcare industry for the AI and ML. And the projected reach is around 150 billion by 2026, like making it the world's highest growth industry, the healthcare industry would be. So in one of these studies, for example, an AI model using algorithm to identify and qualify the patient intent. Okay, so the patient intent, or we call it typically in the marketing language as a lead, better than the human. So the AI was able to figure out that this particular inquiry which is going on, the conversation which is going on with the inquiry, will that become a customer or a patient with us or not? So AI was able to do it better than the human. Human projections or the forecast was not that good, right? So now when I take it, take this entire thing in two ways, like their implication of the conversational AI, the marketing or the experience for pharmaceuticals and for doctors. So when we talk about the for pharmaceutical use case, we all know medical reps MRs, right? So MRs goes to the doctor. That's how it happened earlier. They wait there for long. They wait in the queues. Once the doctor is free from the patients, then the MR get a chance to basically go and visit, and then MR basically just continues to repeat the same medicines, what that medicine does for what it is used, right? This is where the entire pharmaceuticals organization's human resource investment goes. Now, how do we really deal with this kind of problems, right? So think innovatively. What can happen is, with the help of AI, change today the MR into the modern AI MR. The modern AI MR, which is available 24/7 to the doctors, and the entire wait time is cut to zero. Now, with this, a doctor can be connected, doctor can see the new products coming up, doctor can see the usage of that product, doctor can understand and talk to the medical AI medical representative as it is talking to the human, and that can be over the text, over the voice.
Hold on. I am getting excited about the kind of thing you are saying, that this is automated medical rep AI MR, right?
Right.
And who will be available 24 hours.
Which is available 24/7.
In the midst of the night, I'm getting a query as a doctor, I can respond, I can ask and get responded, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. That is looks very dream-like situation. But I know that this is possible because of technology. Right. So can you elaborate on that?
Right. So, and this dream kind technology, believe me, Mr. Pranav, can happen even within a week's time. This can implement within a week's time. So you don't need to now create an AI system from the scratch. There are platforms available. There are infrastructure available. You just need to use them. What you need, or what we basically go to the pharma and say, what you have is basically the functional knowledge. What exactly that MR does in that 3 minute or a 2 minute of a time when he gets from the doctor, and we all know, like, doctors have heard this 100 times. They just wanted to go with the MR in 5 minutes and then they can start looking at the patient. But when it is one way, MR to doctor right now, right? What happens when doctor to MR situation comes in? And that's where we can't guarantee that the MR would be available. And probably I can guarantee you that at that point of time, even doctor would not have the MR number with him. So in this kind of a scenario, a virtual assistant, or what we are calling it as a modern AI MR, this is created. There may be 50 odd questions which probably MR can tell first, or the pharma company can tell that these are the 50 top questions which predominantly doctor may ask. We categorize these questions and then focus on the content on it. There may be few content which are the text-based content. There could be a few content which are YouTube-based content. And you know the power of YouTube videos today, or basically the videos today. So people, those who out of 1,000 are not able to attend us the webinar today, they will be attending this webinar probably as a recorded version, but they will be. So the video once created talks 1,000 words. And if the doctor asks to the AIMR that, hey, why is this particular medicine used? And the small video with that medical representative can be recorded with best of the medical representative, best of the communication. And within 30 seconds, he has just repeated it, and that's sorted out. So this is how the power can be there for the AI-based MRs for the pharmaceuticals.
Let me repeat if I understood right. So if I'm a doctor, I encountered with a new formulation, and at certain stage, I don't know how to use that. It is injectable, parental, IV, whatever. So can I ask simply that how can I use this drug XYZ, and the video will pop up, who will not only tell me about, rather demonstrate the uses, right uses of the formulation or the medical device?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting. It is not just sending a mail or SMS, rather demonstrating how to use. And this is amazing. If as a pharmaceutical marketeer, if you are not using, I say it, you are doing a crime. It that much thing. So let me take the Indrapal Singh's, Indrapal Sethi, how he writes. Okay, before changing the track, we'll move now patient area. So before that, let me read the comment of Indrapal Sethi. We collect adverse event, medical information request, product quality complaint, but we aspiringly see learnings published in silos, converted to broad marketing initiative. So he's writing $1 million insight actually. Any example like Sildenafil is a global example. Yeah, HCQ now is becoming an example of repurposing drug through this. This is, I personally feel this is $1 million points, because many times we miss out very important aspect reported by as an adverse effect by a doctor on your drug. And in the whole process, the medical rep and the managers, they are thinking that this is an adverse effect, but actually it turned out to be a good potential for the different use of the same molecule. And he has given the example of HCQ. There are so many examples actually. I personally have encountered long back, finasteride. People said that there is a growth of hair as an adverse effect. Later on, companies actually could ultimately figure it out, get that insight, and but it took time to make finasteride as a hair, to promote in a hair growth, right? Such thing can happen rapidly in real time. Thank you, Indrapal, for your very, very valuable input here. And
so I just wanted to add a point here with the Indrapal's point is, like, I personally have experienced this, right? I born and brought up in a small district in MP, right? And in that particular district, the MRs are also local, right? With a 2 lakh odd population. And now my mother was a doctor. The MR comes, they interact with her, and then she gives the feedback. Okay, she was a gynec, so there was certain kind of an flavored minerals-based energy drinks and all what typically can be recommended, right? But now this drinks were made keeping India or basically global is the mindset. But that district, when it is an MP and that district, there may be the taste which these people may not be liking. And then she also told the MR multiple times that, boss, your drink is good, but this taste is something which this kind of an audience is not liking it. What can you do? Can you change that? Can you ask recommendation? And the MR would say, yeah, I'll put the thought across to the board. But a small district of 2 lakh people, can that thought from that particular person, which Indrapal is mentioning very clearly also here, that can that thought from that particular district goes to till HOQ? The answer probably we all know is no. But with this AI kind of an bot in case, if we give it a section there that give a product feedback to the doctor right there, and the moment that product feedback is given, the entire layers of the organization vanishes. Transparency, the information directly goes and reaches to the CEO's desk as well. That's the power here right now.
That's right. So I see Professor Vivek Atangadi writing here about e-detailing. So with AI MR, virtual MR, are we mean about the e-detailing? Actually not. Let me respond here, because as an insider, I saw here that how the visual aids changed. The visual aids from the physical visual aid, it changed to iPad. In iPad, there are some animation possibilities. So brand managers try to put some animation there. Sometimes when the question answer, the response, things, interactivity is inbuilt there. But it was not, if certain questions a doctor asks, the iPad is not able to respond that. Maybe some Q&A is inbuilt there to help medical rep. Medical reps takes from that and respond that presentation, showing that presentation. But what we are talking about is a virtual medical rep. Without the help of a physical medical rep, he is able to address all the question queries of a doctor. We'll also talk about the patient as a separate piece, because that is totally different approach need to be done.
Right.
But actually, in the name of e-detailing, what we did in pharmaceutical industry, we carried the physical detailing aid with certain animation to digital. That's exactly what we have done. We have not done, which require a total different paradigm. That is spending, and that is right time to understand and do. This is the right time, right? So, Professor Vivek, actually, what Swapnil is talking about, it is not the e-detailing. We are talking about something at the next level, a different paradigm. Doesn't have a detailing, which have a interactivity, which has a conversation rather, like we are asking in question and responding that way, right? Now, a very quick question here again, a very quick question about that chatbot implementation, specifically because we are conversing now, going to the patient very soon in this later part of 15 minutes. Has your organization, hospital, clinic implemented chatbot? So you can respond immediately. This is very simple questions to respond. If you are a consultant, you talk about your one of the client. If you are working in pharmaceutical company or hospital or having independent practice, you can respond here as an independent hospital. Meantime, read the Umesh comments here again. Yeah, AI has its own benefit. Can it replace EQ? Okay, very interesting and maybe controversial question. And this question is not coming first time. It came decades or 2 decades and 3 decades back also. When there was a computerization, that there was a strike at bank employees saying that they are trying to replace the bank clerk with the computer. And we know the job market in banking has gone up, not reduced. post computerization. So here also the nature of the work of the medical reps or the other functions need to change. It is not a replacement, and there is no replacement of human to human. This is always there. What we are talking about is augmenting it. Can we enable more, and keeping the customer in the focus? Is customer want right now query to be addressed because he has to take medicine right now? He should not wait for the next day morning that somebody will respond in the mail or call him over the telephone, right? Keeping customer in the focus, whatever best possible human or machine should act, and the patient query should be resolved in real time. That's important.
May I just add a point, Pranav, here?
Sure, please.
So this replacement is always a very touchy issue. So the example which Swapnil said, once the doctor says, this is what I would need, and the AI rep replies to it, the next time when the rep is going face to face, if he gets an information added on to what the doctor has discussed with the AI rep, the doctor would welcome the rep because he's bringing in some information which is very much relevant in what he wants. And that's how, as a whole environment, we ensure that this AI rep is actually helping the face-to-face rep to be more relevant and go with more meaningful content with the doctor. And that's what I said, that it's definitely going to augment, provided we have the openness and the willingness to learn and see how we can adopt and move ahead.
Super. I think that's a very super point.
Correct. So the response of the poll, Swapnil, here came that 1/3 of the people says that they have already implemented the chatbot. Another 1/3 saying that no. 16% not sure, and 16% have a plan. Right. So actually divided equally into three segments. Right. Now we'll move to the patient. We are talking more focused about right now about the physicians and pharmaceutical company. Let us move to the patient. And my questions to Girisan here is to you is that are there any need to or a scope to communicate with a patient directly by pharma? Or sometimes even through intermediaries? What are those instances and occasions where pharma should communicate directly or engage in conversation with the patient? And the most important part of this question is that, is there any value for the business?
Yeah, see, it's a very interesting question, because if you look at customer as a word, probably if you'd asked a pharma company 20 years back, they would have said doctor is the customer. Whereas now, if you ask, the pharma companies are now looking at patient to be as the forefront. And that's very much important, because one is, as I earlier said, the whole purpose and existence is to elevate their lives. And if you don't know what's happening in their life, what are you going to do? And therefore, it is very much important to interact with them, understand their voice. So that's point number one, why the pharma company should listen to them. The second is, gone are the days where the doctor writes a prescription, the patient simply takes it and goes. The patient's voice in the treatment decision is increasing as the time has progressed, and it will only go on increasing in the future. So if patient is becoming a stakeholder in deciding the treatment, as a pharmaceutical company, it's our responsibility to ensure that he becomes part of the decision with the necessary information. Otherwise, as you rightly said, he would get some half-baked knowledge from Google and go and participate in the decision-making process, which would only hamper the whole decision-making. And therefore, as a responsible pharmaceutical company, we need to take ownership to communicate with the patient, and thereby he knowingly takes part in the decision-making process. So that's the two reasons. The third thing is, once you start interacting with the patients, you get to know what the pain points are, you act upon it. This is how we have addressed it. The patient starts having a lot more positive feeling towards the pharmaceutical companies. Because currently the whole environment feels these companies are just making products, selling to us whether we need it or not, they're just making money and going back. Whereas the trust element gets increased once we start interacting with the patients, offering them benefits and getting them to a completely different level. And therefore, these are three reasons why I feel we as a company needs to interact with patients. So that's one primary reason. In terms of value, see, what I would say is, when you're interacting with patients, there are many things that you could do. One of the key things which I feel is to sell patient stories. When I say patient stories, there would be definitely some people with the same disease have achieved significantly in life. There would be a person who has got severe debilitating disease, still he must have climbed Mount Everest. So can we take these stories and go to these patients and make them aware of it so that it becomes inspirational to these patients? And therefore, it gives hope to these suffering patients that their life can become better. All of them might not climb Mount Everest, but even if they go out of their home, get groceries for themselves, that itself is elevating them to a different level. And in that process, for becoming better, he obviously would do many things. He would eat right, he would exercise well, he would also adhere to the medicine for a longer duration. And that would have a significant impact on the overall value. So while there would be tangibles like adherence increasing the consumption, but what as a company we need to focus on is elevating his whole life. And if that becomes a purpose, incidentally you would get benefits in terms of adherence and cost. And to keep that in prime and then work towards that is very much important. So that's in terms of whether you need to interact directly or through third parties. I personally believe third party or a neutral source would be much more better. Therefore, there is more credibility and trust, because the trust is the key element. He shares information only if he or she feels he's going to get something back. And therefore, for the trust, if it is a company or a brand or something, probably the trust would be a little bit limited. But if it's a neutral source, whether it's NGOs or something, it would help better. And if there are platforms already available and you partner, you leverage on that platform. And it's not just one disease, there are probably 30 different diseases which are being discussed. And therefore, it becomes much more easier to encash on that particular platform. So I personally feel at this point in time, it's better to leverage on the platforms and common sources rather than trying to reinvent your own platforms. So that's my point of view.
That's right. Actually, the lack of patient advocacy group in India is one of the reasons. Professor Vivek Katangadi writes here that, and then he's right. Actually, we have not, the pharmaceutical company has not encouraged or facilitated for the growth of patient group,
sure.
Patient advocacy group. And while in advanced developed country there are groups and working on that, India it is very, very low, minimal, hardly some people use that. So I think that will that movement should trigger that. What Girisan you said is a very, very important and significant, looks very promising to me as a professional in pharmaceutical industry. But the question, the $1 million question here is that what is holding pharma back? Let us not understand from the group that why pharma is not adopting that. Why don't we connect patient directly, engage in conversation with the patient? So there is a poll here. I request my participant here to respond. This is a long poll, so you have to read it a little longer. But it is worth knowing that collectively, all of us, that what is holding back pharma to engage and converse with patient. Is it no business value of conversing with the patient? I think nobody responded as of now. And Girisan clearly told that there is a business value for pharma in engaging patient directly. We are MNC and not allowed to corporate policy. Fear of, I'm sorry about the spelling mistake here, fear of a regulatory issue in engaging patients, fear of getting doctor getting annoyed, unhappy, and last is not prepared properly with required regularity, system, technology platform, and people orientation. I think very nice feedback here. It is published now. 1/3 of people says that they are MNC, they are not allowed anyway. So even if they understand the value of business for engaging patient, they can't do anything. 1/3 of the people says that there is a fear of doctors getting annoyed. And another 1/3 says that the fact is the company they work for is not figure out the technology, figure out the required regulatory system, and orientate the whole team, because this requires a mindset. If the team is not of that mindset, they will not do possibly. So this preparedness is the reason for that. With this now, we'll come to Swapnil here. So Swapnil, now while we are also coming close to this session, I would like to know from you that in reality, in at the marketing level in pharmaceutical industry, give us a actionable thing which the pharmaceutical brand manager can deploy. While deploying such thing, we have to assure that there is a no violation of GDPR and HIPAA. There is a all regulatory concern, which you saw in the poll also, is also met.
Right. So, I mean, there are two set of a question right now. So what I'll try doing is I'll first take your HIPAA and GDPR question, so that that particular point is clear, right? So that helps to basically everyone to basically take the discussion. So when it comes to like GDPR compliance, the transparency and the capabilities of AI and other machine learning algorithms are double-edged sword. So this means that the machine learning will not magically comply to any GDPR unless and unless it is clearly programmed to do so, right? And though there are few challenges around HIPAA compliances, they are but no means difficult to overcome. So that's not that problematic area. So the entire thought process here is that even if you build any AI or NML, you are gonna train it. There are platforms which is available to train it, right? So you'll build on the top of it. So based on your algorithms, based on your learnings, you're gonna train them. What are the policies? And then in that particular framework, the entire thing works, right? Now, both the policies typically says about the data sharing and all that information, right? A business has to be lawful, and that's our underlying thing in the case of an pharmaceutical. If you are lawful, following all the policies, then this entire platform, what we are talking today, is a conversational platform which will allow to engage, which will allow to start the conversation with the audience without the time frame or the wait time, right? That's more important. So, yeah, so I think from a GDPI perspective, this particular question is what I believe, Mr. Pranav. Anything else you want me to answer there from the policy perspective, I can take care of.
Okay, fine. What about actionable point, coming back to the other part of the question?
Right. So when it comes to the actionable, let's talk about. We'll continue from a use case what we have discussed, right? Mm-hmm. So the use case what we have discussed is the virtual AI marketing rep, right? Medical rep, sorry. So if this is a person, now you typically we all have seen the experience with the bot. If any one of us have done, it's not that convincing. It's not that humanly, and that's where the challenges starts coming. So bots are great, the chatbots are great, they will serve the purpose, they will do everything. But still, we have to think as a human is going to interact with the patient or with the doctor. So few things which I definitely feel should be kept in mind when you are creating an AI chatbot or a virtual assistant. Add a friendly chatbot greeting. I mean, the person when he comes, the way you as a human greet, that is something. The greeting has to be very, very stronger when you greet someone when she starts interacting with your bot, and giving it a character, typically known as an emojis. That kind of a character or a character in the form of an virtual assistant or an MR, giving it that will make it more super customer experience and getting enhanced there, right? Add some humor to it, so that humor is something which typically every bot company misses. But yes, when it is we are trying to create it as a human, we need to add some humor to that. More important, modify the text lingos to suit the millennials as well. You cannot be completely formal English when you're talking, right? We use many lingos, that kind of lingos to be built when you're building a conversation. And try thinking always that how the humans will think to that question, how the doctor will think to that question, how will he ask, and what is typically the response can be, right? Take a good name, create a good virtual AI MR's name. I mean, that MR name could be a very interesting name, which is catchy, which can start evolving and talking. I mean, in case of an ORAI Robotics, we have created our virtual assistant. We call it as an Oshi. So people talk about Oshi. Oshi starts interacting with the human. So similarly, probably in the SDFC Bank, you might have heard about Eva. So these are the characters, Alexa, Shiri. I mean, these are the characters you have to bring it out, right? And the conversational design is something very important. So when we all understand from a marketing standpoint, you have better English to be written when you're writing SEO, your keywords, your marketing, brand communications, and all that. But when it comes to the conversation, there is something which is a concept called conversational design. And this conversational design is specifically to build a conversation which can happen between the human and the bot. So spending time there. So these are few of the takeaways from how do you design a conversation or make it more engaging AI.
Good. So while I read Indrapal Sethi's next comment here, it appears that the legal and regulatory is the one bottlenecks we have to figure out before digitalization of the communication with the patient or the physicians here in pharmaceutical industry. Possibly, my questions to the audience: would you like to have a session with the brains of the compliance and regulatory people in this platform? If yes, just put yes in your chat box. I will try to put together the best brain in the country on regulatory and compliance pertaining to healthcare and pharmaceutical company in the system also. Now coming to end this session, so quickly in maybe 20-30 seconds, I request both of you to give a summary gist of your message to the pharmaceutical marketing here. Starting with Girisan, please.
Yeah, so I would just comment on what Indrapal said for 10 seconds. In terms of laws, doesn't permit you to promote your products. As far as a disease is concerned, there is a lot of things which you could do in terms of disease awareness, how to manage, and doing welfare from patient being in center. So the only thing I agree, you need to get the regulatories on board, but that's something which as a pharmaceutical company is a more responsibility. If the objective is to elevate the patient's well-being, there's absolutely nothing which the law would prohibit. You would also need to see how you communicate, and it's not that the brand is speaking to the patient. That's where the whole challenge comes in. So that's why I said you need to create a third party or get associated with an NGO and then create a platform where the actions happens and stuff. So there's a lot of things which could be done that way. And as Pranav said, a session with the necessary regulatories would happen. But from a marketer's point of view, if you have the desire, there are a lot of options in terms of technology and the laws which can help you to implement it. So coming back to the summary, I would say the whole quarantine is basically quarantined only us physically. Mentally, we are still free. So please make use of this time to be mentally strong, equip on what needs to be done so that once the lockdown goes out, we have got the necessary skills to go out and get back whatever we have lost and bounce back into business. So I think that's what I would say to them. Yeah, over to you, Swapnil.
Yeah, so there is a lot of scope to be implemented in the space of healthcare, and I basically recommend my healthcare friends to look forward for such options to ensure they become early adopters of conversational AI or the AI with the marketing. And one thing which I really wanted to let you know, I mean, this is $1 million thing which can happen at change for everyone. Where are we spending most of our time in the smartphone today? Which particular app? Mr. Pranay, you can answer that. Which app do you spend most of the time today?
Netflix.
Okay, Netflix is at movie time, but yeah. Rather, where is the time where we engage? WhatsApp. So that's absolutely right. So the entire users where the pharmaceutical companies want to engage, entire users where doctors want to engage with patients, or we as everyone, we all are today at WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, that's right.
Right? Now, I'm not sure if many of you would definitely know about it, but WhatsApp have 3 categories. WhatsApp Personal, which you and me use in the mobile phone. Then there is WhatsApp Business app, which you talked about slightly, where you can have certain automated replies so that a person gets to know 1 or 2 questions answers. But what in case if the virtual MR, what we have spoken, that is the 3rd category of the WhatsApp, which is called WhatsApp Business Verified Account. I mean, you might have noticed that in Make My Trip or Book My Show or any other experience, the moment you do the bookings, you get immediately the ticket with their brand name, Make My Trip, and the green tick. Right? That is WhatsApp Business Verified Account. So think about the virtual MR who is there on WhatsApp. So even one doctor who wants to basically connect, you don't really need to go to your website or the pharmaceutical organization website. He can just take up a phone on the WhatsApp, your number is there, he texts hi, and the entire virtual or AI-based backend conversation starts. That is like, wow, this is where the technology is going at. So this is where, I mean, people should adopt the verified chatbot and the WhatsApp chatbot and get a green badge to the pharmaceutical organizations as well as for the doctors' brand names. This can only happen with the organization name. And I mean, for more details on this to implement, how to implement, can it be implemented in our organization? I mean, I request everyone to get in touch with Mr. Pranav or me, whatever it is, we will be able to help in that kind of a scenario. So let's adopt to this modern business conversational AI platforms and leverage the technology to start increasing the productivity. And
I got a very interesting question and very relevant question. So though time is over, I would like to respond to Umesh. He writes that then would not be a cluster of app replacing cluster of people. So is it that a multiple app or multiple sort of WhatsApp is required, WhatsApp account is required for a company?
Right. So WhatsApp Business API is something which is which the number is allocated directly by the WhatsApp, which is typically known as in the form of API. It is not something which can get installed in anybody's phone number. I mean, your or my phone number, it doesn't get as an app installed. It is integrated with the application. So it is integrated with either the AI bot, which is handling, or your CRMs or ERPs. So this is that kind of an application which does not need to be installed on the machine. And when user want to connect, for user, it is only single WhatsApp, which is in his phone.
Okay, so for user, actually, there is no need to have another app.
Nothing.
Right?
Nothing.
Same app which is using WhatsApp app for other personal and family purpose.
Just one WhatsApp app.
One WhatsApp only. So there is no multiple app here.
No.
Good. Thank you very much, gentlemen, both of you discussing. Before closing, I have a request here. We try to put the topic and content here based on the need of the audience which you have. This session was also based on the feedback which you have given earlier, right? Same way, maybe you might have some problem, difficulty, opportunities, thought, issue, idea. Do write to me. You can post in YouTube channel, youtube.com/Academy of CPD. Comment box itself. We'll pick up your suggestions from there to put in the content and the topic for this life after lockdown. And this way we can continue every time a new content which is relevant to your need, because this is for you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Girisan. Thank you, Swapnil. And thank everybody who attended and participated in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.